Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of NDISCO'S Village Meeting Podcast. This is hosted by Dr. Marcellina and Diaspora. I welcome you. Welcome. Today we are continuing our talk or discussions on why Africans do so well in diaspora. And we are actually beginning to wind down on that because we have really almost exhausted all the aspects we wanted to share. Those things, those variables, attributes that make Africans get them noticed out in diaspora, whether it's in the schools or at the workplaces and more. And so as we explore those, what we are trying to do is to shed the lights on what those variables could be so as to hand them down to our generation next, if possible. Bearing in mind also that, excuse me, the hyphenated Africans now in diaspora are also battling other cultures and other things within the environments that they find themselves in to be able to hang onto what their African immigrants believed in and brought along with them to instill in their own children. So we all know that as generations pass hand, they pass hand from one to the other. Some of these values start getting really adulterated a little bit. So the fear of death is there, but also the hope is that a lot of them, the valuable ones, will survive and thrive. So we've talked about the cultural influences, the character building, and much more. So today we are going to touch on an important aspect of really what makes us grow or what makes us successful as African immigrants in diaspora. And this particular topic now is not just for those out there. It also functions for those at the homestead. When I say homestead, the countries, the communities in Africa whose children are also out here. So we are now, again, looking at family anchor. The family anchor serves as the root that holds the feet or the roots, sorry, that hold the feet of these are African immigrants and their offsprings out there in the world. Again, we are doing this from the adaptation of the book that I wrote years ago on raising an African child in America. And so my discussions are sometimes based also in North America and not like in Asia or in Europe, in as much as if you look deep into that, they are almost all the same variables functioning everywhere with a twist here or there or a modification here and there, but it's almost all the same because Africa is Africa. There's no two of them, or there are no two of them. So let's get into that. Again, this is all about Africa, culture, and society, and everything in there between. So let's look at um the, get into it. Okay. So let's review what family means when the African immigrant talks about family and how the dynamics of this family influences the success of who is and functioning in it or failure there too. So, but we are talking about the success most of the time Nothing is, cleanly black or white, but, where we envisage is that success will be more than what number of failures there are. So we are really embarking on that positive aspect that I always talk about, the success factors. So we start always with the proverb. Proverbs say so much, and you have noticed that I do that a lot, is because you got to think about it, and it could give you so many perspectives, depending on where you are or what's the environment you find yourself or what situation. So some of them are situational, and you can always, interpret those to match the situation you're in. So this one says that a family is like a forest. When you're outside, it is dense looking in. When you're inside, you see each tree has its place. Again, when you start analyzing this, let's just take it literally as a family. The very simple fact of it is that when you look into everybody's family, you don't know what is going on in that family from outside. You are looking at it and say, oh, they have one child or 12 children in the house, and an adult and two adults or three adults or 10 adults. But you don't see the components of how that family functions. And again, we can also relate it to uh, when you see something, from outside, you think that thing is so good or so bad, but you're not inside to really determine whether your observation is right or wrong. You know, it's your prerogative to assume whatever it is that you want to assume, but the facts remain the fact. But there are those within that will tell you actually what is going on there. That's against what you see. That's what this proverb is all about. So we really tie that to the family. There's in the family are those that will tell you exactly what is happening in the family. So we're going to talk about the experiences of the African immigrants. Remember that some of them, when they came, um, setting foot in the diaspora soil, whether it's Europe, Asia, Australia, or any other continent, and North America, what they will see first, they will notice freedom. Again, we know that back history. I'm not going deep into that. But the tolerance that is going on, respect of differences. You could wear it, anything, you can, go about your business the other way, whichever way you want. In most cases, you don't even know your next door neighbor, so you don't even, poke your nose into their business, and a whole lot going on. That's what the first time an African immigrant comes in. But also, what they notice after a little while, they will also see a disconnection, between the society and the family. So there is a disconnect. The society doesn't function like it functions on the African soil here in diaspora. So the family is one area that is always some kind of anchor that is missing in some homes or in some areas. So, but this is also the observation of Jide Nzelibe, who says, for immigrants, family life and culture are more important than material wealth. So you see, when you first came or set foot here, you see all these disconnect, and that's scary sometimes. And that is the first thing that pulls an African immigrant back to say, oh, let's look at it again. Because where they come from or they originated, the family is worth more than material wealth. All over the world, with all its political and social problems, the family remains strong. And by doing so, helps define the social and economic expectations of the nation. So think about that again. We still believe that no matter what is going on in the world, the family is the most to be. One of the things that you heard from people when there was um, uh, the COVID period, when some people couldn't get home for years, for months on end, even for a few weeks, it became really a trauma for some because family is the anchor. Some of people go do their business, do everything, but then at the time they want to rejuvenate, they want to refresh, they come back to the family. But during that COVID, many people couldn't do that. And it was devastating for some. So the family anchor is not even something imaginary, it's real. Okay. Um, we will also find out more about why the family is important and African immigrants leverage that. Again, in African immigrant families, relationships are guided by gender, hierarchy, and seniority. So what happens is that um, when any child in an immigrant family, which is or it's getting to the age of 4 or 5, they are expected to start performing some household chores. That's the first step. And as they get older, their responsibilities grow. So the male children are expected to help their fathers in male designated activities, while the female children help, with the cooking and taking care of the babies. But nowadays we encourage them all to do it, whether you are male or female. And that's the little twist to all this. These tasks, why are they being done? In some Western world, they will think, oh, why are you enslaving a child? Or why are you making them do your chores as a grown-up? No, the African immigrant family, what they are doing is they're using these tasks to help the children learn how to become productive members of their family, and then next to add the community and on and on. Okay. But however, we must emphasize also that while these children are assigned these responsibilities, they also are allowed to enjoy their status as children. So they will always be pampered, but they are also made to understand that life outside of the family will always call for these values being instilled in them. And so when you catch them young, that helps. And this is what they take going forward. Okay? A family, um, a family honor is influenced by the actions of its members. This is what the African immigrant, parents believe in strongly. So when we say it's guided by gender, we are talking about the male, female genders, they are at play. Okay. The hierarchy, the father is the head of the family, the mother follows, and then the children, the firstborn, secondborn, and all that. That is all. Those hierarchies or that hierarchy is respected in an African immigrant family and actually also at the homestead. Okay. Seniority also matters. What we're talking about is if you are even a few months older than, or a few days even older, older than somebody, you are the senior. You claim your seniority, and and that's what happens. So that also comes to play, whether it's actually to the chores being dished out or the benefits there too. And we will talk about that soon. So when we say that the actions, they are influenced by the actions of the members, is everybody does their own thing. Collectively, all the things that everybody does in their own respective area collects or, results to the output of the family in a positive way. So whatever the 2-year-old, the 4-year-old or the 5 contributes, and then the eldest in the family, the dad, everybody is hands-on to make the best of all situations. In the African immigrant family, age and position demand respect. So that is really implanted from the beginning, and not called. So people don't call people by their first name. I mean, if for example, Neka is, even if it's 1 month older than, uh, let me find the name now, Ugochukwu. Neka Ugochukwu owes it to Neka to not to put a little bit of seniority in the name calling. We have, it depends on part of Africa where you're from, but I'm from Igbo land, like I say, ethnic. The ethnicity makes me call da Dede, and other people have other ways of putting that seniority title to that. So elders are greeted and served first. Now, this is the difference. In the rest of the world, in diaspora, children are expected to be served first. And that's because maybe their little stomachs they cannot hold, or weight or anything, or because we think they are more important. But in the African household, the eldest is served first, and the man, the head of the family, actually is also served first. But if there are extended family with like the grandparents and all that, they the service starts from them. Okay, everybody is greeted accordingly. There's no negotiation to that. you know and some people have their different ways of greetings. um the Yoruba tribe will genuflect, or bow almost to the ground for the elder, or to the elder, while in some other parts they just greet normally. So it depends on where you are in Africa, and also some aspects they use religious symbols, or that aspect to follow their religious preaching or religious way of also greeting people. In return, the senior person or elders has the responsibility to make decisions that are in the best interest of the family. So this is where they play fair. There is justice going on, and everything in there between. So as the younger ones are respecting the older is bound to also earn that respect by being responsible to always stand in the way of justice. Objectivity is what is expected of them. Okay. So um, we are also going to mention here that um, the Africans, whether at the homestead or in diaspora, do not traditionally practice what one Emma Bumberg, her view on family. I take, and I quote, I take a very personal view of raising children. I put a sign in each of their rooms which says, checkout time is 18 years. And in the outside world, yes, they do that. Once the young gets to 18, they are asked to go fend for themselves, find their own way, so to speak. That does not happen in an African family, whether you are at the homestead in the African nation, any African nation, or the African continent, and also in diaspora. But economy sometimes makes it difficult to stand by that in diaspora or even at home. But we're talking majority of the case or the cases, the African immigrant child stays as long as possible in the way. So this is contrary. What Emma Bombeck is saying here is contrary to the immigrants' belief and custom of raising their own. Um, the youths would reside with their parents as long as they wish, even after graduating from college. So it is customary to see married children even living with their parents and grandparents under the same roof, okay, as part of the extended family makeup. They are free to stay or move out if and when they are ready. So, you have it there that that practice, it's what really sometimes brings success to the family, members of the family. But, you know, there is an expectation there too that these young ones that are left to, stay in the same household, save their money and all that, that they will also contribute towards the maintenance of the family ensemble within their capabilities and capacities during that period. So when they decide to be now live on their own or get out of the house, they can always leave whenever they choose to, but secretly, the parents who wish they could never leave, we always want them around, right? So in majority of the cases, though, these offsprings of the African immigrants, um, they do not move back unless there is, a tough circumstance that brings them back. Okay. Um, the choice of living with parents, it may be permanent or it may be temporary. Okay. So this is one of the things that we would, and as I finish the last um, um, point on this page, I will share exactly how this manifests in today's success. So extended families are still the norm and in fact the backbone of the African social system as we know it. So we have the grandparents sometimes, uncles, aunts, cousins, sisters, brothers, even in-laws, all working as a family through life under the same roof. Okay? So um, this is how the the African immigrant takes care of the child or their offspring until whenever age they feel like they can be on their own. Okay. And this is why, on the other token, you don't see many African families, um, the children, though, the young ones, putting their parents in the old people's home when they're no longer capable of taking care of themselves or taking care of these other children under their care or under the same roof. So this is what goes on in the way of symbiotic living, or what they call the symbiotic cohabitation, where everybody is benefiting from helping everybody. Yeah. Um, they take care of their parents, and sometimes with part, everybody chips in. So why do the African immigrants do that? What are the results of all these still trying to rehash what practices they do back home, bringing that to America? One is that the child learns from all these. Everybody becomes these young ones' mentor from experience, from age. And the benefit is that the respect that is needed out in the workplace, at school, to deal with, the securities orders out there, the policeman, the army, you name them. It's learned from home. So remember when in one of the episodes I said there was a proverb, um, trouble is not infectious, you know, sort of the contagious is only when you go fetching it. And so the children of African immigrants, they are armed with the values of all that everybody teaches. Of course, there are bad ones, but mostly the good ones that arm them. Hard work is one of them. Listening to the elders. Again, it goes back to the elders. Doing your own work, being responsible in doing your own chores. And, the dynamics is that when you don't do yours, everybody else, is waiting on you or fails. Say, for example, you are in charge of maybe 8 or 9 to do the dishes in the house. Just let's forget about, even if you have to put it in the washers, dishwashers, but you didn't put it. So we have dirty plates and everybody have done theirs and your mom even did hers to cook. And so everybody is now waiting to have clean dishes to eat with. When you didn't do your own chores of doing those dishes, you have now deprived everybody else the opportunity to eat on a clean plate. So you learn to contribute to the good of what is going on in the household. And so they carry this to the office. When the work is divided among teams, the African immigrant, the hyphenated ones of their offspring, remember what they learned from home and they apply that to the office and more. So you see the African immigrants working harder than their counterparts who are maybe Western or from any other area. They bring to that the respect. So they will respect and are loyal to their bosses or their supervisors. They also, respectful in the way that you can ask questions sometimes, but that's also one of the aspects that is they are not free to ask questions sometimes, but where they have the opportunity to do so, they cannot combine that with other cultures that they have learned to work effectively in their workplaces. In the thinking outside of the box, like I always say, they are watching their elders, their siblings, not even just their parents, the siblings do what they do their own chores. When they help them or one way or the other, they learn it. So all these learning are all helping towards making this person, this sibling, this offspring hyphenated, whose parents are African immigrants, to be as strong as they can be and as are responsible as they can be, as hardworking as they can be, and take that to the outside world. When in any difficulties, they also have the extended family to turn to, the grandpa who is living with them, the uncles and the cousins. So when we talked about it takes a village to raise a child, it manifests also in the family angle. When these people are under the same roof, this comes to play. That's where the village is for that family. Okay. Individual turn to members of this family for emotional and moral support, sometimes financial, and sometimes just for guidance. Okay. Although the role of this extended family aspect is diminishing somewhat, especially for those who live in urban areas because of economic aspect to that. There remains a strong, though, tradition of mutual caring that occurs in these families and responsibilities among the members. So when we talk about the family, in such settings. We understand that dynamic, and we're not going to over labor it. So again, going to the photo speak, look at the picture again, and you could see everybody is at play. These are the siblings from enjoying the summer. They are all playing together because they also work together under the same roof with their extended family. Where any of these children, at the time when they're supposed to come back into their house to do their chores, there is an elderly person, a grandpa, an uncle, or making sure that they come back in and do what they have to do. So the dynamics here is that the family plays a whole big role in making these hyphenated Africans in diaspora work hard and at the same time do what? Earn the respect of others, um, be carry whatever they are done to the outside. One of the things we talked about is them also respecting themselves, because the African family believes that when you disgrace yourself out there, when you bring upon a frown from others on you by doing anything untoward or by not doing what you're expected to do, you're breaking the laws or the rules. You're not bringing just the shame on yourself, you're bringing the shame on your family. So that ought to beat you up before even the family would open their mouth, because you have broken that rule of not shaming your family. And that is why when you are with your African immigrant families out there in public and you do things that will make them cover their faces, so to speak, they don't do anything to you. They just look at you, and the look will tell you that wait till we get home. And the African family, immigrant family, may not hesitate to spank you a little bit. It's not it's not abuse like everybody else, in the Western world looks at it. No, because the African family, or the African immigrant family in this case, still believes that you do not spare a rod on the child because you spoil the child. Okay, but the idea is not to, correct to hurt, or correct to wound, or correct to really out of anger. No, it's discipline, and which many people are now beginning to go back to correct some wrongs. Okay, um, because what you don't correct when they're growing up, you may not ever correct when they're grown. So when we put this in summary, we're looking at to also note that it's worthy of that most African immigrants in diaspora, including those at home, village, compared to the Western standard, is there is a sense of larger extended family, including married siblings and their families in the house. African immigrant parents use this family and extended family rites of passage to emphasize to their hyphenated offspring that laziness is not acceptable. Everyone is expected to contribute in the family dynamics. I cannot overemphasize that. And to also remember that this kind of cohabitation, it's symbolic, or symbiotic, sorry, and serves to everyone's benefit in most cases. Okay. So I'm going to make today short because the topic speaks for itself. And that also emphasizes that when we are looking at why Africans are doing so well, or African immigrants are doing so well there are so many components to that, and one of them is the anchoring of the family. Okay? So now we have it. We are going to stop here, and we have one more part 7 that we will do to conclude all about examining why Africans do so well in diaspora. Like I shared with you that the whole month of April will deal with, examining each part of this. And these have been like the 6th topic under this that we examined. We have one more to go. And when next we meet, we will see why. And like somebody asked me before, why many young African, hyphenated Africans from that are born in diaspora are not in prisons a whole lot, and why are most of them not in the news as being killed due to something or the other. Yeah, some of them are still, facing violence in one way or the other, but it's violence on them. Sometimes, most of the time, it's not the one that because they are doing anything bad. So some of them have been unfortunate to get into such situations. And some of them, yeah, nobody's perfect. Some of them have gotten into the wrong sides of the law and ended up in prison. But compared to the number of them out here, we don't experience that aspect a whole lot. And so that's the last part we're going to talk about, the adversities or that they face and how they maneuver those. And because it's part of what makes us work hard and do well. And that's the topic we've been talking about. Why do we do so well in diaspora in all aspects? And today we talked about the family anchor. Thank you so much for listening. And again, for those of you, there has been a surge of subscription. So I thank you and the followers as well. It means we are listening. It means many are sending, sharing this with their people. I hear you. I hear some of the the emails say to me, if you could cut it short a little bit. But please note that there are some topics that don't lend themselves to short periods. So be cognizant of that. And I will try to curtail the ones that lend themselves to short period of time, like this one. Okay? So thank you, and I hope you remember the spirit of Ubuntu. I am because we are, and in this case, because you are. I appreciate you. Thank you. This is your hostess, Dr. Marcellina and Diaspora signing off. Bye-bye.